The average Canadian household is now spending over $1,800 a month just on groceries and utilities. And that's before rent, before car payments, before anything fun. And this is the kind of number most Canada channels will show you once, bury in a montage of autumn leaves, and never talk about again. We're going to actually break it down, what it costs, where, and why it's gotten this bad. Let's go.
I've spent years tracking what people actually spend in Canada, not what the brochures say, not what the immigration consultants put in their packages, what real households, new and old, are actually dealing with month to month. Most Canada content on YouTube is optimized to get you excited. This channel is optimized to get you prepared. If you're moving to Canada, already living here, or budgeting a visit, this mad spend and what they actually spend in year one is often $10,000 to $20,000. That gap is what wipes out savings. That gap is what sends people home or into debt. Let's get into it. Point 1. Housing. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Toronto in 2026 sits around $2,400 a month. Vancouver is still north of $2,600. Even mid-sized cities like Calgary and Ottawa have crossed the $1,900 mark. That means if you're earning $60,000 a year, which is roughly the median individual income in Canada, you're spending between 38% and 52% of your take-home pay on rent alone. Financial advisors recommend 30%. Almost no major Canadian city lets you hit that target anymore. One newcomer put it this way in a comment: "I thought Toronto was like any big city, expensive but manageable. I had no idea I'd be choosing between a short commute and a grocery budget." 8 months in.
Point 2. Groceries and food. Canada's food price research has tracked cumulative food inflation of roughly 25 to 26% since 2021. A family of 4 now spends an estimated $1,200 to $1,400 per month on food, according to Dalhousie University's annual food price report. That's not dining out, that's cooking at home, buying what's on sale, and still spending more than most people budgeted. Eggs, olive oil, chicken, bread, all significantly more expensive than 3 years ago. And unlike rent, there's no rent control for a dozen eggs. Someone on r/Personal Finance Canada wrote, "I started photographing my grocery receipts because I didn't believe I was spending that much. The photos don't lie." Food and housing are the obvious ones, but there's a cost people never put in their budget, and it might be the most dangerous one.
Point 3. Transportation. If you own a car in Canada, you're looking at an average cost of $1,000 to $1,400 per month once you factor in car payments, insurance, fuel, and maintenance. Auto insurance alone in Ontario averages $1,800 to $2,400 per year, the highest in the country. And here's the trap. Most of Canada isn't walkable. You need a car in suburban Ontario, most of Alberta, and anywhere outside the downtown cores. Transit is good in a handful of neighborhoods in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, and significantly worse almost everywhere else. A new permanent resident told me, "Nobody told me Ontario insurance was that expensive. I came from Europe. I nearly fell off my chair when I got my first quote." Okay, housing, groceries, transport. What does that leave you for everything else? Let's do the math. Point 4. The real monthly number. A single person in Toronto, living modestly, one-bedroom apartment, cooking at home, owning a used car, is looking at a baseline of $4,500 to $5,500 per month before anything discretionary. That's roughly $54,000 to $66,000 per year after tax, just to break even. The median after-tax individual income in Canada is roughly $46,000. Do that math. For a huge portion of Canadians, the numbers simply don't balance. which is why savings rates have dropped and credit card debt has climbed to record levels. Someone put it bluntly online, "I earn what I thought was a good salary. I have a roommate. I still have nothing left at the end of the month. How is this normal?" Before you decide Canada isn't worth it, there's one more thing to factor in, and it matters a lot depending on where you land.
Point 5. City versus city. Not all Canadian cities are equal. The same lifestyle that costs $5,000 a month in Toronto costs roughly $3,200 to $3,600 in Winnipeg, Halifax, or Quebec City, with comparable salaries in many industries, especially remote work and healthcare. The mistake most newcomers make is assuming Canada means Toronto or Vancouver. The country is enormous. Secondary cities have real job markets, genuine communities, and significantly lower costs. This is one of the most underreported stories in Canadian immigration content. A Filipino-Canadian family who moved to Moncton instead of Toronto said, "Best decision we ever made. We actually own a house." Which brings me to something I want to be straight with you about before you leave this video thinking it's all doom. The twist. Before you write Canada off completely, there are things this country genuinely gets right that carry real financial value. Universal health care means a medical emergency won't bankrupt you. Parental leave policies are among the most generous in the world. Public education is world-class and largely free through high school. These aren't small things. If you've lived somewhere without a safety net, you know what it's worth. Canada is expensive, but some of what you're paying for is real. This isn't about fear. It's about going in with your eyes open, not with someone else's highlight reel. That's the cost of living in Canada in 2026. Unfiltered. Housing that eats your paycheck, groceries that keep climbing, a transport system that forces car ownership on half the country, and a handful of cities that nobody's making videos about where the math actually works. Subscribe if you want Canada content that actually tells you the truth. No fluff, no tourism board energy, just what it's really like. And drop a comment. Where are you moving? Where are you now? And does any of this match your reality? I read every single one.